The speaking frameworks I'm about to teach you have allowed me to raise tens of millions of dollars from the world's best investors, grow my company from zero to hundreds of people, and even marry my dream wife. I'm not going to waste your time here, so let's get straight into 6 hacks you can immediately use to become more confident and more respected. So the first habit to eliminate is to stop hedging your statements. You want to state your truth with absolute certainty and then state the exceptions afterwards. So to use a fitness example, a hedge might be something like, unless you have structural issues or you need to really develop your abs for some certain reason, it's usually okay to just skip ab exercises. That's a fine way to say that, but a stronger way to say it is, when you're working out, you do not need to do ab exercises, unless you have some sort of structural issue or something that medically mandates you to do them. I'm saying the same thing, but by leading with the truth first, it has more impact. Another easy change you can make is to start giving 2, not 3 examples whenever you're demonstrating something. It's just as effective and it allows you to make your point faster. Third hack is to go from I to you. And so the way you would use that is what I just did there actually. Instead of saying the way I use that, I say the way you would use that. So I'm constantly trying to think, how do I make this about you, the listener, not about me? Because if I'm just saying I the whole time, you are going to tune out. And then another effective way to do that is to go from you to we. So I would do this all the time when I'm talking to my employees or my team. Instead of saying, hey, you need to go fix that, I'd say, we need to fix this. It's absolutely critical that we fix this. And I say we a lot. So much so that sometimes I'm saying we and people are like, well, who's we? And when I have a smaller company, I'm like, oh, it's just me actually. But I've built in the habit of just saying we because it makes everyone feel like we all are a part of something and we want to do this together, not a you versus me mentality. That's not good for business. On top of that, simple thing is I think we can win to I believe we can win. You're moving from think to believe. Small little changes will make massive impacts on your speaking. And the last of my quick 6 hacks for you is to go from you versus me to us versus the world. And I use this a lot when I'm pitching investors, when I'm doing a big sale, anything that I want to try to persuade or convince someone to get going in the same direction as me. The mentality I can give you here is, rather than trying to say, if you buy my product, here's what your business will look like. In my head, I mentally actually bring that person to the same side of the table as me. If I can, I actually will physically do this where we're sitting next to each other. And I will say, listen, if we do this, here's where your business will go. And so we are in this together to transform your business. And you can apply that to dating, to relationships. All of these techniques work for everything. So if you just use these hacks, you're already a better communicator than 90% of people, but there is still a problem. Have you ever noticed that some days words just come effortlessly to you, and some days it feels like pulling teeth just to put a sentence together? These natural variances in speech and confidence are fine if you're just catching up with friends, but unacceptable if you need to give a big speech to the board or close a key customer. So how do you make sure your words hit every single time? The answer is a pre-game ritual. I've actually never met a CEO that doesn't have one, and they're one of the most critical things in your toolbox as an effective speaker. One of my own mentors, when I was learning how to fundraise and pitch investors, gave me his, which I actually used for a while. It was 2 shots of espresso and 1 shot of whiskey. The espresso gets you energized and the whiskey helps you loosen up. And I literally used to do that before I pitched investors. But every single leader or speaker that I've ever met has their version of a pregame ritual. My friend Tim Armu, he goes on stages, lights crowds up. He has so much energy. But behind stage, he's in his head. He's jumping around, hyping himself up to bring that energy out. My friend Ali Abdal, when he does a YouTube video, before he starts actually saying the script or the lines that he wants to deliver, he's singing, he's moving his body, he's getting going. And after experimenting with a lot of different pregame rituals for myself, I found 3 key components that make a winning pregame ritual. First is music. And I like to use the same song every time because it sort of has a physiological trigger response where you hear that song and you get in the right mode. Second is motion. You don't want to just sit there and listen to your song, hope that everything goes well. You want to actually be moving your body while you're listening. That could be dancing, that could be walking, pacing, whatever works for you. But I can tell you, there are a lot of Silicon Valley offices where I'm out there about to pitch an investor and I'm dancing in the lobby, listening to my music. And the third thing I'm doing is I'm getting in the right mindset. I'm visualizing success. And I do this for any big speech I'm giving, any YouTube video that I film. So I did it before this one, any investor pitch, any sort of high stakes environment that I'm entering into. I'm doing these 3 things. So now with your pregame ritual, you're going to start strong every time, but Maybe you've actually experienced this feeling where you do start off strong and then halfway through the speech, it's like you forgot why you were even talking or what was the point you were trying to make. And sometimes when this happens, you instantly lose all credibility. And it's for one single reason. In that moment where you lost track of where you were going, you broke character. And this concept of staying in character or breaking character is actually something I learned in a professional speaking course called Ultra Speaking. I actually went through a year of training 3 times a week, and it's part of the stuff that I'm incorporating into this video to help you guys learn to be better speakers. And the very first thing that you learn in Ultra Speaking is that staying in character is actually more important than the words that you say. Because people don't always remember the exact words that you said, but they will remember how you made them feel. They will remember your presence. How did you come across? Were you confident in what you were saying, or did you have self-doubt in the actual content that you're delivering? And if you have doubt in what you're saying, the audience will immediately doubt. But of course, that's easier said than done. I mean, sometimes there's just those moments where you feel lost, or maybe you get a really tough question from a boss, a colleague, a friend. How do you answer it? Well, actually, one of my favorite videos and demonstrations of how to stay in character is the Steve Jobs video. In it, a heckler basically says, "Hey, Steve, I don't think you know what you're doing. I actually think you're an idiot, and I'd like you to explain a very technical concept." And I want to just play it for a second and show you how Steve Jobs handles it, and then I want to teach you the lesson inside of it so you can do it too.
I would like, for example, for you to express in clear terms how, say, Java, in any of its incarnations, addresses the ideas embodied in OpenDoc. And when you're finished with that, perhaps you could tell us what you personally have been doing for the last 7 years.
You know, you can please some of the people some of the time, but one of the hardest things when you're trying to affect change is that people like this gentleman are right in some areas.
And so actually what you just saw Steve do is something that they teach over and over and over in Ultra Speaking, which is when you're lost, when you don't know where to go next, take a breath. And in that brief pause, you collect your thoughts. You think, which direction do I want to take this? And then you say your truth. It is one of the easiest, simplest lifelines that you have as a speaker to constantly make sure that you're communicating effectively. By the way, this and the next few lessons that I'm going to teach you actually all come from Ultra Speaking. They're not sponsoring this video, but I do think really highly of what they do. So I reached out to them, asked them if they would throw in some free goodies for my audience. I'll put a link in the description so you guys can just get some more free value. At this point in the video, if you're still watching, I'm assuming you're actually serious about becoming a better communicator. So highly recommend it. Get the free stuff. It'll make you a better speaker. Now, that's how to stay in character, but there's actually an even stronger way to stay in character and not just recover when you get a bit lost, but actually make your speech more powerful. They're using what I call power prompts. And power prompts are like the ultimate cheat code for effective speaking. So we just talked about when you're lost, take that breath, think about where you want to go. But instead of just taking a breath and saying what you want to say, you're going to drop one of these power prompts. And so let me give you a few examples. First, think about where you're lost and you say, what really matters here is, and then you say the next thing that comes to mind. Or you might try, see, the thing is, or what I'm really trying to say, or it's critical to remember, or it's absolute paramount that we, and so you're using the different techniques that we talked about earlier, but you have kind of these power prompts in your back pocket so that whenever you get stuck, you can pull one out, use it, and it doesn't just make your speech better, it actually allows you to crystallize your thinking, allows you to really get to the heart of what you're trying to say. Because ultimately, effective speaking is not just about delivering words or moving your audience. You want them to walk away with a message, a concept, a change in their lives. And so actually, my fifth and final principle is actually the most important, which is before you give any speech, spend time figuring out what is the one thing that you want your audience to take away. And then this simple concept really transformed my speaking because I used to give a all-hands speech to my entire team every week. And there was so much stuff to cover. I'd say, here's how sales is doing, here's how marketing is doing, here's how product roadmap's coming, here are the customer wins, here are the employees we just hired, blah, 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 blah. And what I really realized is that the audience, they're gonna come and go, they're gonna tune in and out of what I'm saying, and they might just remember some random data point that I dropped. And so what I started doing is I would actually make a slide in my presentation every week that was basically, here's the theme of what I want you to understand. If you remember one thing from this entire talk, it is this. And it would be, something like, sales are struggling right now, but we have massive momentum for next quarter, and our product is rapidly improving, so we're on a really good trajectory, even though the numbers look a little strange at the moment. That's a little wordy. I'm making this up on the fly for you, but hopefully you get the idea. I want them to think, how should I actually feel after this speech? And then after that, the rest of my speech would just be evidence to help guide my audience to believing in the statement that I've made. So if I've said, yeah, we're gonna be fine, I can't just say that and say, thanks for my speech, guys. I'll see you next week. Tune in and we'll give you more updates. No, I need to go, here's the data that shows our product's getting better. I call this evidence stacking, and I use it in presentations to my team. I use it to investor presentations. I even used it when I sold our business for 9 figures. All you're doing is stacking all these little data points to say, hey, remember that really strong thing that I said up front? Now you can't deny it. It's inevitable because I've given you so much evidence that only a fool would walk away thinking it's not true. Now, before you go, if you are an entrepreneur or want to be one, as an investor right now, I'm seeing a bunch of weird things in the market. And so I also just did a video on some of the weirdness that I'm seeing and some pitfalls to avoid. I will put a link over there. Check it out. Hope it helps.